Well, hello again, everyone. I've been waiting for a suitable day to put the clear coat on my airbrush sign because it's been pretty wet lately, and if you do it in really humid conditions, it's been quite warm as well, then I think there's a risk that it will go a little bit cloudy. So anyway, nice and sunny today. Well, I've got my sign out here in the garage, and the first thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cut some of this plastic angle so I can lay it on top of this timber, sort of point upwards, just to support the sign on. I'll cut it slightly short so we're not sort of sticking it to the sticking the sign to the bearers with the clear coat, so everything is suspended all round the edge. Right, now I've closed the garage door up, and as usual I want to get my excuses in first. I think if you were going to be doing this on anything like a regular basis, you'd need an area dedicated to it, like a paint spraying workshop. There's just far too much goes on in here, and of course recently we've been cutting up all that plastic for the motorhome shower project. I've had a good sweep up, but as you can see there's still plenty of places where there's dust and muck and stuff. I'd really have to sort of clear everything out to get it absolutely perfect for spraying, and that's just not going to happen every time I want to do something like this. Now in time, who knows, maybe a dedicated workshop is on the cards, but we can't run to it at the moment. I'm trying to save a bit of money and not buy so many aerosol cans and stuff, so I'm going to try and use the 2K clear coat that we bought for the motorhome bonnet. Now I've also bought a mini spray gun. Now, true to form, I haven't gone mad on that. I think that cost me £12 again, very much the same that the big spray gun cost. But obviously I can mix and use more suitable quantities for the type of small panels we'll be doing regularly. And it's a Duran Tools gun, which again I think is actually the same make as the big one I bought, correct me if I'm wrong. Now it comes with some basic instructions. You can see the controls are very similar. We've got the air regulator at the bottom here, fan adjuster on the side on this one, and fluid volume adjuster on the back. So goodness knows how we'll need that set up, but it's got some maximum working pressure is 30 psi. And the working pressure is 30 psi, maximum pressure is 50 psi. So have to remember not to go beyond that. And we've got consumption of 8 CFM, which should be okay with this compressor if you remember before. It's a bit on the limit, but if it was good enough for the big gun, I think it's going to be good enough for the small one. And obviously there are some safety precautions. You mustn't spray other people or your dog or your electrical sockets. So we'll try to avoid. I haven't got a dog, so anyway, we'll try and avoid spraying Mr. Ginge. He's safely outside. He can't get in. The door is closed. Anyhow, because we're using the gun for the first time and having a bit of a bash at it, I'm certainly not going to go straight into spraying the front. We're going to try spraying the back first. Obviously, after we've set up the gun, maybe tried spraying a little bit on the wall, or maybe that bit of chipboard or something. First thing though, let's give it a flip over and a wipe down with the old tack rag. Well, as you can probably see, the finish isn't great on the back here anyway. It's still got things like the scribing marks in. The back is not really intended to be on display, and I'm probably expecting it to take a bit of a bashing as we sort of lean it up against various different things and move it round. This is very much intended to be a sign and for display, so I'm not too worried about that, but probably could have made a bit of a better job of that, couldn't I? But never mind, it'll be a good sort of practice, and it won't matter really if we muck up the back a little bit. Don't want to muck it up too much, of course, but we'll give it a shot. So the first thing, of course, as the instructions said, is to set this little mini gun up and just run a little bit of thinners through it first, just to make sure we've not got any problems with residue in there. So I'll set the fan to the maximum, fiddle with this a bit, don't really know what I'm doing. That seems to be pretty way out already. Anyway, let's stick it together and put a little bit through it. I'm going to set this to 30 psi because that's what's recommended. Right, now from last time we know it was a 2-to-1 clear coat to hardener mix. So where's 2-to-1? That's 4-to-1. There it is, 2-to-1. So we can use the lower graduation on these calibrated cups, and then it's up to 5% thinner. Now I had to use a little bit more thinner before to get a good flow, but we'll try just 5% since that is the instructions. So I'll go ahead, mix that up, filter it, put it in the gun, and then we'll give it a test spray on the chipboard. And if all is well, we'll go ahead and put a light coat on that sign. Well, that went reasonably well. I'm going to give it 10 minutes and then give it a bit of a heavier coat. Right, another 10 minutes. Probably just about enough time to water the garden. Well, it's not looking too bad, but there are a few little issues. There's a lot of dust in it. See there's a big white speck. I think that's probably a little bit of that plastic that we cut up. That's not too desperate really on the back there, but we wouldn't want that on the front. But watering the garden has given me a bit of an idea. I wonder if I can just damp down the floor slightly in here to hold the dust down. There's quite a force comes out that spray gun when you're spraying, and it's directed downwards, so it's probably billowing stuff up off the floor a little bit. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I might damp it down before I do the front. I couldn't find the sprinkly bit, so just gonna have to slop it about a little bit. So let me know if you think this is a stupid idea or if you think this is the right thing to do. I'm not really sure. Anyhow, that's had a light coat and a medium-ish heavy, well, medium to heavy coat, I suppose. I'm going to give that one more coat, a sort of a probably another medium to heavy-ish coat, and then that back will be done. A couple more minutes yet before we've had our 10-minute drying time. So Well, 10 minutes have come and gone, and she is hardening up nicely. You can certainly rub your finger along it. A little bit soft, so I'm going to give it a few minutes before I turn over and do the other side. There is a lot of dust in it though, look. I hope the other side turns out a bit better. Oh dear. We'll see, we'll see. I might hang a sheet over the back here, just so if there's any dust doesn't get blown out of that. Maybe I'll do that. Right, I'm going to risk it and turn it over. I might get some marks in this clear from that plastic angle, I suspect. But I'm not too worried about that because this back is a little bit shocking anyway and you're not going to see it really. So let's spin this over. I'll give it another wipe with the tack rag and then we'll dust it over with our first coat of clear on the front. What do you think of it so far, Mr. Ginge? It's a tricky old business, isn't it? Well, I don't know if you spotted there, but obviously we ran out of clear. I emptied the gun and there was a bit of a daub came out. So there's a bit of a blob on the painting. Yeah. So anyway, I hadn't really finished. So I've mixed up another lot and we're going to end up wasting most of it, I think. But I'm going to give it a good 10 minutes again to harden up. And then I'm going to hit it with another nice heavy coat. And that will give us hopefully a nice thick coating of clear that we can sand back to give us a better finish. That's the plan anyway. Do you reckon that's going to work, boy? What are you seeing under there? Well, I'm not entirely sure about this really. You can see there is quite a heavy orange peel, and in fact up here I'm not sure really, but I think it may have started crazing slightly. Anyway, we're gonna have to give it a good rub down, I think, once it's hardened off. You can see here, well, maybe you can't see, you can probably just about see on the edge of this A is where that blob is from when that ran out. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see. It's definitely going to need a good sanding off to get rid of that orange peel. Well, there we go. I bought it in the house now. I think we probably have got away without it crazing. It actually looks okay. It's just like a heavy orange peel. I obviously need a bit more practice spraying the clear. But to be fair, a 12 quid gun probably isn't working to my advantage. Anyway, enough complaining. That needs to harden up for at least 24 hours really before we attack it with the old wet and dry, but I'm reasonably pleased. Well, it's a few days later and I'm going to have a go at flattening this off. You can see in the light catches it, we have got fairly strong orange peel effect. Obviously I'm trying to catch the light to show it at its worst. From a distance, didn't look too bad. But I'm going to be flattening it off, I think starting with some 800 grit paper and then just working finer, trying to get rid of the lumps and the bumps. It may need another coat of clear after that. I don't know. I believe they call that a flow coat, as Mr. Custom Airbrushing tells me. So we might need to do that. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out, I guess. The risk here, of course, is that you go too mad with the wet and dry and you actually start sanding off the design. So we need to watch that and not do that, hopefully. Anyhow, let's crack on. Okay, well, I've just checked the advice that Mark gave me some time ago when I did my sort of beast in a bottle kind of thing with the claws coming out the bottle. I'll put a link up there to it. Anyway, after I posted that, he contacted me and said that 800 was too coarse to start off with. I was remembering his advice wrong just then. So he suggests starting with 1200 and working finer from there. So we're going to do that. We're going to start trying to flat off with 1200 and then work finer from there. Right, I've done really as much as I dare with that 1200. I think there's still definitely a texture there, and you can see it where the sort of dimples catch the sort of white, I don't know, residue, I suppose, from the lacquer. But I'm going to carry on and go through the process anyway. So I'm going to use the 1500 now and keep going and see where we end up when we get to the end of our grades of paper. I suspect we are going to end up having to do another flow coat over this, but I want to get this as flat as I can beforehand to give the flow coat a chance. I think when we do the flow coat, the trick might be to turn up the pressure anymore. Anyway, on to the 1500. Right, now we're going to 2000. Right, I've got one more grade to go down, and that's 2500 grit. Well, there we go. That's all the flattening out I dare do with that paper. And again, I'm showing the light on it, so I'm making it look as worse as possible. As bad as possible. And you can see what that's done really is that's flattened out the orange peel effect. It does feel really smooth when you run your finger over it, but obviously everywhere it's that whiter colour is a lower spot. Now, I do know from experience doing it with the aerosol cans, if I was to then go over this with the cutting polish and then polish it up with the car polish, it wouldn't look too bad. It would take most of that out. But because this is supposed to be a display piece of really sort of the best I can do at the moment, not that I'm saying that's wonderful or spectacular or anything, but I want to do the best I can on this piece, I am going to try the old flow coat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another coat of clear coat, a heavy coat of clear coat. I'm going to whack the pressure up so that the clear coat atomizes better. Now we can only go to 50 psi with that gun. It's set to 30 at the moment, so I'm going to crank it up to probably somewhere around 40ish, and yeah, give it a shot, I suppose. I'm going to give it a wipe over with panel wipe first, just in case there's any greasy fingerprints and such on it. I'm going to damp down the floor again. I've already emptied my water container over there, but I'm going to damp down the floor again. And yeah, we'll see what we can do. Well, would you believe it's just come on to rain outside? I'm not sure how that's going to affect things. It doesn't feel stupidly humid like it did the other day. But to be honest, I mean, if this is what I want to try and do, it's either just about to rain or just finished raining pretty much all year at the moment. So I've really just got to go for it, I suppose, because if I wait for the perfect day, I'll never get anything done. So I'm going to give it a shot, however non-ideal the conditions might be. Oh, well, while the fog clears in the garage, I've come out to shelter in the motorhome because it's absolutely chucking it down outside now. Oh well, drink the rest of my tea, I suppose. Had a quick look at it before I come out, and it looks pretty good, although it has still got specks of presumably dust in it, which, yeah, I'm not sure we're going to get past really, still doing it in the garage there with everything else going on. It really does need a dedicated area. I need to think about that really. Anyway, I imagine if we can perhaps let that dry, that needs to harden off another 24 hours, give it a going over maybe with the 2000 grit again and maybe the 2500. I don't think it needs, well, I'm hoping it won't need the coarser stuff again, otherwise there's kind of no point, is there? Maybe I'll start off with 1200. Maybe I'll do what Mark suggested, and now I've got it flat, go 1200, 2500, 2000, 2000. What? No, 1200, 1500, 2000, 2500. Just to flat it off, and then I can give it the cut-in polish and the buff. Maybe that's the thing to do. I don't know. Let me know what you do. Anyhow, I've really got to wait, I don't know, some time for that to dry. I don't want to walk it back into the house through the rain, that's for sure. So that may be staying in there until the rain stops. So that may be as far as we get today, in actual fact. Well, it's had a good 10 minutes to dry, and it's not looking too bad for the most part, but look at this. Oh dear, we have got a little bit of pickling and wrinkling going on there, I think, for definite. So we might be able to get rid of it. We might sand that off, or it might shrink back. That seemed to be what happened last time. It shrinked back a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't spread. Dear. Yeah, this clear coat in it is not an easy business. We're just going to have to try and deal with that later on. Anyway, is that dry? No, it's still very slightly tacky, and I've just now left a fingerprint in it. Great. Oh dear. Right, anyway, that'll obviously have to be flattened as well. So I'm going to leave this a little bit longer. I'm going to leave this in here. Obviously it's raining outside. I definitely don't want to start wandering about with it in the rain. So this is going to stay in here. I was hoping to do some sanding off and preparing of some other bits of steel, but obviously that's not going to happen. I think what might be an issue is the black base coat, which is just a Halford's aerosol spray can. That's why I want to start using proper car paints, because I think where I've had this happen before, it was on the Halford's paint. So I don't know what's causing that, but we've got to try and get around that somehow. Anyway, this needs to be left for 24 hours for sure. Well, it is at least 24 hours later, probably a bit more than 24 hours later. It's Monday evening, and yeah, this is still here. I was hoping it might shrink back. I've had it happen before, where maybe not as bad as this. Maybe when it just starts a little bit, if you let it dry, it sort of shrinks back. But this obviously isn't going to. I do wonder if it's something to do with this metallic paint that I did the email address in, because it only seems to be around that. Although there is a little... No, it's not really. There's not really anywhere else. We've still got the metallic paint up here, which seems fine, so that's odd, I don't know. There's a few other little lumps and bumps as well, which I think is where dust has got in it. So anyway, I'm going to go through the whole process and give this a rub down and see what it looks like. I don't know, is it optimistic to think I can sand that down smooth and it'll be okay? I don't know. We'll see, we'll see. Well, this is all a bit disheartening. It's all gone a bit wrong. You can see this is not too bad. This would be fine, I think, if I put the cutting polish on this and then polished it up with the car polish. That would all go shiny again. But where that pickled and wrinkled up, obviously it's lifted the paint underneath and there's been an air gap or a void, I'm guessing. And where I sanded it off, it's removed that and left holes in the clear coat in this sort of pattern of the wrinkles. And you can see, in fact, I've gone through the paint. I'm not sure if that's primer or that's steel. It might even be steel. It might have gone right through there. Oh dear. So this is a bit of a mess, really. And it's also lifted the metallic paint underneath where the clear coat has sort of wrinkled up. I'm still not sure whether that's because I put it on a bit too thick or whether it's a reaction with this gold paint, but that seems weird because everything's fine at the top. Or whether there's some contamination got in on the bottom there, I don't know. It's all very odd. So how to fix this? I don't really know. I've got a few options. Really all this needs doing again, I suppose. There's some other little problems here. I don't know if you can see. This is where that blob was, where the gun ran out. It's sanded smooth now, but it's sort of wrinkled the paint underneath. And given that this was supposed to be some sort of showpiece, it's showing that I'm not quite there yet, really, I think. Anyway, what to do here? I'm wondering really whether I sand all this off back to metal and then I don't know really whether I could sort of prime that or put maybe some primer filler over it and then black over it again, and or would that show, would that be like a bloom across there? I don't know. If you've got any ideas, then let me know. In the meantime, I think this is going to have to go on the back burner for a bit because I've got some other jobs that I've got to do for people that they've requested, so I need to get that done. This is really just for myself. So yeah, I'm going to put this away and have a think about it. But before I do, I'm just going to put some water on it just so you can get an idea of what it should look like. Yeah, so if I polish it up, it would shine quite well. But, oh well. I always said that I will show you my mistakes and cock-ups as well as when things go well. And I have well and truly cocked this up. Never mind. We shall try and bring it round, and it's all a learning experience really, isn't it? Well, that's all for now. if you enjoyed it, press like, subscribe if you want to see some more, and ring the bell to be notified when we upload something new.